Sr. I was born in Columbus, Ohio. I was raised in Dayton. I left Dayton, Ohio at the age of 17, going on 18. We moved to Cincinnati, Ohio. We then moved from Cincinnati, Ohio to Atlanta, Georgia when I was 22. When I was in Ohio, I was a rapper, and I wrote poetry. I used to draw like how people do graffiti. I used to do that kind of work on paper. I've always drawn. I took art classes as a kid. I was always an artist, but my parents grew up. My father worked for IRS and my mother worked for AT&T. And because we were in Dayton, the only person who I saw was an artist was my neighbor in the back behind us. He was our art teacher at elementary school, but I didn't really know what that meant. So even though I went to art classes, I didn't know that you can grow up and be an artist. Right, I thought that, maybe I was going to be, first job I thought I wanted was a brain surgeon. But then I would draw all the time, and I would make cartoons in my room, and I would go in my father's garage. I would go in our garage, and we would have wood pieces around, scraps, and I would nail them together and make Star Wars, put my Star Wars figures in them, and I didn't realize that I was being a budding artist, right? I just saw it as me making stuff to play with, and then it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I began to really explore what it meant to be an artist. Actually, a funny story. I was in the basement with my kids, and we were finger painting, and then so we're all finger painting together, and then I'm like getting into it. I'm like doing the do, right? And I look up, and my kids are nowhere to be found. I've been there for like 20 minutes by myself in finger paint, and I was like, I need to get back to making art. I need to go back to who I am. But always looking at comic books when I was a kid too was a big influence. They used to draw the characters, and I used to learn how to do shading and lighting from looking at different comic books and drawing them. And I used to draw them for my friends. So I was always like this budding artist, but I didn't really know what it meant to be an artist. Yeah, I mean, Atlanta has a very complex relationship. I think that I think part of the reason why it's like that is we can go back to like the burning down of Atlanta, right? Because you don't have people who are able to see their history, the length of their history, then they're not able to really see the value in that. There were the 10 people that were making the High Museum, and then they all get in a plane crash and die. You don't have people there who are supporting the arts or who are bringing that there. And then you also have this inadequacy between the relationships here, right? Where we all live in the same city, but we don't really communicate with each other. So you don't have that. So then you come out with a book called No Placedness, which came out maybe about 5-6 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, that are done by the critics, talking about how the art scene in Atlanta is done by people from all over the country. So there's really no place in art in Atlanta. There's no one. We don't have a singular art movement, right? But I disagree. I believe that Atlanta art is definitely Atlanta art. I think that the people that grow from here, are working from here, are inspired by Atlanta. But I also believe that the people that are surrounding Atlanta are within Atlanta because they don't have a value of their history, because they don't get to see it every day, that they don't feel a need to fully participate in it with not just words, but with money, right? With resources, right? And because you have the separation of, as much as we'd like to say that we're the city too busy to hate, I think that there is a line that goes between the city where there are certain galleries that only show certain work, and then the other galleries that don't, And then galleries are hard business, especially when you have a city that is not willing to pull together resources to 100% support it. I think that it then goes back into this history, right? But also, let's look at what Atlanta has become. Atlanta has become a mecca for making money, right? But not about what's happening in Atlanta. Like, for instance, who can afford to really go to a football game? Who can afford to go to a baseball game? Where's the baseball team located now? We no longer have a hockey team, our soccer team. Like, in order to buy these tickets, regular people can't purchase these, or regular people are not purchasing them. They're being bought out by these corporations to hang out with their friends, and that's great. That's great. At the same time, when you create that kind of atmosphere, you're not focused on the arts, right? Now, Mercedes bought a lot of art from SCAD, and that's wonderful. But they actually tore down a whole community around it, and they bought art from SCAD. But there are people right there in that community, right? And these are hard things to talk about because they have to do with this idea of disparage and our relationship to the arts. But I really feel like if Atlanta spent as much money on education and the arts, that we would see a difference.